Yo guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with episode 36 of our Reddit series, and today I got some more entitled parents from our own subreddit. So without any further ado, let's hop right in. EM calls me a Nazi Satanist for listening to Rammstein. Posted by Scottish Boy 2002 on our own subreddit. Thank you very much for that. Background. I'm a bit of a metalhead and I listen to rock and metal music a lot. One of my favorite bands is the German rock group Rammstein. For those who don't know who they are, look up Du Hast on YouTube. Anyway, on to the story. It was early Sunday morning and I had just gone into town to grab a coffee. I was so tired. I had gotten a large latte with an almond cookie. In comes the entitled Christian mother and her god spawn, ready in their Sunday best to praise the Lord. Anyway, I was listening to Rammstein's newest song called Radio when the god spawn came up and tapped me on the back. So I take my headphones out and he asks, "Can I listen to your music?" Me being the good guy that I am, I told him, "Nah, you wouldn't like it." Oh damn, this was the wrong answer. He ran to his dearest mother, pointing to me as I bullied him. And you know the drill, folks.
Excuse me?
Me turns and takes headphones out. Yes? I'm seeing EK and internally I'm thinking, damn, here we go again.
My son told me you would not let him listen to your music.
I am in no mood to argue, so I say, fine, here you go. So I hand my headphones to the EK. The face on EK when he heard the song was priceless. "It's loud and weird," the EK screamed. The EM yanks the headphones out of EK's ears and starts listening to it. I could hear the guitar shredding and the words of "Radio, mein Radio." EM gasping,
"What is this preposterous filth you're listening to?"
"Phew, it's Rammstein, a German heavy metal band."
"What?"
She literally shrieked.
"You've been listening to the devil's music? And not only that, you listen to crowd music?"
Yes, I have, still smug as I knew what was gonna happen.
"You should be ashamed of yourself for listening to this putrid music."
Me,
"Oh.
"You are going to hell," the EK screams. Oh, am I now? Well, in that case, I will see you there. So I go up to the counter, asking to take my coffee to go. As I walk out of the cafe, I could hear along the lines of
Nazi Satanist, the Lord will smite thee down.
And there you go. No arrests, no argument with the EM, just another day for me. The only thing that comes to my mind,
How dare you listen to music that I don't like?
Karens will be Karens. Entitled woman acts like she owns my house and car and then makes the kids cry. A few years ago, when my sister and I were in middle school, we participated in our church's youth group. One of the leaders, we will call her Luna, was having some issues living with her family. So my mom said that if she ever needed to, she could move into our spare bedroom. A few weeks later, she did, and she was a terrible guest. She never offered to do anything with my sister and I, or spend any time with us, never helped around the house, never offered to pay for groceries, etc. She even had the audacity to tell my mom one day that my sister and I were terrible at cleaning the bathroom the three of us shared, or that the garbage in there needed to be taken out or something. The point is, she could have easily done it herself, since she had contributed to the mess. Eventually, she moved out. A little while later, my church's youth group had a weekend-long event for which we had to drive around throughout 4 nearby towns. My mom had a car that seated 7 or 8 people, so she offered it up to Luna, who was in charge of the middle school girls. At this point in time, my sister and I were always fighting over who got to play music whenever we were in the car. Luna drove us all to the house we were staying at for the weekend, which happened to be mine, and my sister and I started fighting about playing music, as always. About halfway through the ride, Luna got sick of the fighting and declared that she would be DJing from now on. The thing was, she drove our car around all weekend during the retreat and didn't allow anyone else to play music for the rest of the weekend, despite our begging and pleading. When Luna showed up at our house on the first night, she immediately went up to see
my room.
Then came back down, and the first thing she said to my dad was,
"I noticed there are no sheets on my bed."
He responded, "Well, you know where they are. For years, my family has had a tradition: breakfast and presents in bed on your birthday. Keep in mind that we usually did this early in the morning because my sister and I had school and my dad went to work early. Well, the next day was Luna's birthday and most of the middle school girls, not me, had stayed up really late the night before, putting together a scrapbook of them and Luna to give her for her birthday. They made sure to also get up early to make her chocolate chip pancakes and wrap her gift. When they went to wake her up and give it to her, she yelled at them to get out of her room because they were being inconsiderate, making a couple of them cry. A few hours later, she woke back up and ate her breakfast and opened her gift alone without even letting the girls know that she was doing it. Later that morning, when we went to church, she started telling a few of the other leaders about it and laughing, saying how it was obvious that she wouldn't want to be woken up even for something nice and heartfelt like that. Eventually, she moved out of state and thankfully I have not heard from her ever since. So first of all, this woman felt like she's entitled to the house being her hotel, aka having room service, and then she doesn't even appreciate the present. Oh, I forgot to say, this story was posted by u/paddles98, so thank you very much for sharing your story. How to trick an entitled dad. Plant a seed and let it grow till they believe it's their own idea. Xmas tree hunt with an entitled dad. Quick disclaimer from me, this person is not a native speaker, but I like his stories. This happened several years ago while I was still a weak pushover and did not dare to stand up to my dad. Since I was the useful one who always got told to help him with whatever he needed, I received a call. Poor him, he was upset that no one helped him to get an Xmas tree and he needed help since he was disabled and weak, blah blah blah. The normal rant about how bad his situation was to wear me down into agreeing to help him. It did not matter that I also had physical issues and a lot of pain since his was so much worse and I just faked it and was lazy. Apparently. The nag wore me down till I agreed to go with him into the forest to find and cut down a tree. Walking around in knee-deep snow caused me a lot of pain and it took ages. We walked from one tree to the other one, but none of them were perfect. I would point out, "Oh, there's a nice one," and he would go,
"Yeah, maybe."
And then decide,
No, better not."
So that's how it went. Every tree I found was flawed and he did not like its branches or form or height, and I started to be exhausted from stumbling around in the deep snow. Then the light bulb popped up and it was me finding the trees and he didn't like any of the ones that I found. In my mind, I went like, I'm gonna try something the next tree we find. I found another good looking tree, no different from any of the other ones we had passed during the last hours of looking, only this one also had another tree next to it that was not as nice. So I pointed at the tree that didn't look so great and it was a space that was a bit barren on one side and missing branches. "Oh, look Dad, that tree looks nice, don't it?" as I pointed to the tree lacking branches. He stopped and looked and our conversation went like this. Me, "Doesn't this look good? It's a perfect fit for the living room."
"Yeah, that is actually nice. Let's see closer."
"Yeah, I think Mom will like that one." Dad,
"Yeah, that one looks good."
As he looked, he considered the tree, then turned to me and then turned and looked at the tree again. Then he turned to the nicer tree that I first had wanted to point out, which was next to it.
"Oh look, this is even better than the one you saw, don't you think?"
Looking at me for approval that his tree was better than the one I found, while he pointed out that the tree I found was a bit barren on one side.
"We will take this one, so cut this one down."
Turned out we had been walking for hours in the deep snow for nothing. All it boiled down to was who found the best tree. So I sat there all Christmas hearing how he found the perfect tree and how barren the one was that I found and how blind I was that I didn't notice the good one next to it. While I was like, "In your face, a-hole, I tricked you." It was a small victory since Mom knew that I had found it and she saw through the story. She whispered to me, "Clever girl." So that's how you deal with entitled people. Plant the seed and let them think that they came up with it. At least with people like my dad. Now on to next year's tree hunt. 2 days before Christmas, I got a call from my entitled dad and he was having a
very bad cold, coughing and runny nose.
Blah blah blah, whine whine whine. I lived a 40-minute drive away from them and was the closest of us siblings. Also the one who was most spineless since I was scared of him and easy to manipulate. He called and demanded me to drive to their place and go out in the forest to chop down a tree for him. I love how this poor OP in the story always has to do the kind of crappy jobs. Of course, I can understand he had difficulties doing so since he was disabled and had a bad leg. It was especially bad when people were around him and saw him. He was the type that if anything was wrong with someone else, what he had was way worse. Well, on to the story. Me, I don't think I can do that, Dad. I have a lot of pain in my back and also became sick with a bad cough myself. Can't you ask my brother?
No, they have visitors and they are really busy.
Could you try to do it yourself? Because I'm really sick and I need to go to a doctor as soon as they open up again. The ER is far between in this area and the doctors close at 15 o'clock on normal days and around Christmas it's closed several days in a row.
Do you expect me, a cripple, to go into the forest in this cold weather and the deep snow to get a tree? How selfish and lazy are you?
Me, Dad, I have a 40°C fever. I just cannot go. Even driving to you wouldn't be good in this condition.
I got a higher fever than that. I probably got pneumonia and my leg is giving in.
I just can't, Dad. I'm too sick. I heard him continuing to yell as I hung up the phone. During the day, I avoided picking up when he called since I knew he was trying to pressure me into going. Then the phone calls from the rest of the family started. How could I not help him? Blah blah blah. Since he didn't get through, he used the rest of the family to get through, and of course he had totally changed the story, so I was the bad one with just a little sniffle. No one believed me since I am the black sheep in my family and the problem child. I ended up driving there, almost going off the road several times since the fever made me have cold shakes and blurry vision. It was the back roads and no traffic on those roads most of the time, thank God. I didn't go into the forest, I just stopped along the road, chopped down a little tree that wasn't even great, I didn't care, that was my retaliation for having to go through this crap, and packed it in the trunk and dropped it off in their yard and left. I did not even attend Christmas that year since I knew everyone would give me the stink eye for not helping my dad, so I stayed at home. I got told after that my dad had gone to the doctor complaining to back his story up, telling the doctor the whole story as well and telling him how bad of a daughter I was. Also because it was our family doctor. It turned out he just had a mild case of a cold. When I came home, she was angry as she told me this. It turned out I should have been to the hospital since I actually had pneumonia on both sides. So thanks, Dad, forcing me out to chop down your tree probably made me worse. I can attest that having pneumonia is really bad. It felt like I was dying. Breathing was like having one of those Chinese heavyweight wrestlers sitting on your chest. I refused to go to a hospital and agreed to a nurse coming by every day to check up. I reacted good to the medication, so I improved quickly from that. If you even suspect that you have pneumonia, please seek help immediately. Even if the ER is far away, get someone to drive if you cannot. Well, that was a difficult story to swallow, both grammatically as well as content-wise. But I have a question for you guys. Is it common in the US that you chop your own trees in the forest to get a Christmas tree? Because here we usually buy the trees and not chop them ourselves. Alright guys, since we did not have a bonus for quite some time now, I would say we do some church drama reading from our own subreddit. Pastor tries to ban me from the church choir because I'm an unwed mother. Backstory. I had moved out of my parents' house after having an argument about the guy I was with at the time. I loved him like crazy, but my parents hated him. It turns out they had good reason to, but that's a story for another time. On to the story. After some time, I had moved back in with my parents and I was pregnant. I decided to go back to church because I wanted to get my life back together after breaking up with my boyfriend. I was a mess, psychologically and emotionally. I could not get through the day without having a breakdown. We went to church the Sunday after I moved back in and we were waiting for Sunday school to start. I was holding back tears and went to the bathroom to pull myself together. On my way there, our pastor calls me into his office to talk to me. By the way, the word pastor, I'm never 100% certain how to pronounce it. In German, you would say pastor, but if I say pastor or pastor, it all sounds weird, to be honest. Anyway, let's continue. I go in, wiping away tears and clearing my throat so I can talk. He asks me if I was okay, and I told him the situation, that I was pregnant out of wedlock, which is apparently a big no-no and I could be shunned, and had broken up with my boyfriend. I thought the pastor was going to pray with me and offer to help in any way he could, but instead he puts on his suit jacket and tells me,
I do not want to see you up in the choir until you accept Christ.
Now keep in mind, this was the pastor who had baptized me a few years ago. I was floored and ran to the bathroom, no longer able to hold back my tears. I locked myself in a stall and broke down. My mother was in there and asked what was wrong. But before I could answer, the pastor called her to his office and told her what he had said to me. My mother was super pissed off. We left before services began and went home. I told my mom that I didn't want to go back to church ever again if that was how they were going to treat those who had lost their way. My mom was upset and called the deacons to tell them what happened. They were mad and said that it was unacceptable, and the pastor stepped down and I returned to the church. But I still don't trust preachers anymore enough to open up to them. This story was posted by JennyBug1997, and sorry, I forgot to mention, the story before with the Christmas tree was posted by Mom's Revenge on our own subreddit. Thank you guys very much for listening to my video once again, and also a huge shout out and thank you to the people that post all these amazing stories on r/ripe stories. I hope you have an amazing day, and don't forget to come back tomorrow.